Basically, we wanted to put together a call here with everyone to talk about how sales work at Cohart. As most of you know, we've been building not only tools for you to connect with collectors, but the past couple months, we've really heavily focused on systems to manage your existing business and your existing community. And I think for us, that's been something that we've seen, just learning more about artists and what you need. Most artists have to do everything. You have to do your marketing, your sales, your community, your admin, your ops, your logistics. And then you also have to do, the art itself. And so as we've been thinking about how can we create value for artists as a platform, we've been trying to navigate how to take some of that burden off and how to centralize your systems and processes as an artist. So that way you can spend more time doing art and less time doing the stuff that, most artists don't enjoy doing. So today we'll focus specifically on sales, and the goal is to talk about all the ways in which you can process sales with Cohart. And if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat. Lauren, do you want to just say hi quickly since everyone can see you?
Yes, I was like waving the card. Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren. I'm the community manager at Cohart, and I'm feeling very warm and fuzzy because I'm seeing so many people that I've spoken to already. So it's really nice that we're all in a call together. And yeah, as Kendall mentioned, feel free to pop any questions as they come up in the chat. And then if anything comes up for you later, like after this call, you can reach out to me anytime. I'll pop my email address in the chat as well in case if you don't have it, but we're here for any questions and to support you. So thanks so much for coming today.
Yeah, so Lauren and I are here, and so is Susan. Unfortunately, Susan's under the weather, and so is Lauren. So everyone's a little bit sick, but we're all hanging in there. So again, we'll just kind of dive in here. So taking a step back, as most of the word cohort comes from the idea of art discovery through the lens of human connection and community. So we started about 3 years ago. Our goal was to build a space where artists can manage their businesses, collectors can manage their collections, galleries and advisors can, jump in and manage their businesses. And then on the front end, everyone can connect. So for us, what we see with the online art space right now is that it's very cold and transactional. It's like people buying and selling art, which is great to have that commerce. But I think, as most of you know, community is really what fuels commerce. And so our goal is to really activate a space and an online platform where artists have, again, direct connections to their audiences and can find new opportunities, but they have simpler ways to sort of manage all of that down in the pipeline. So I'll kind of, again, our goal is like connect the art world. Again, we talk about this with most of you in like the onboarding calls, but as a team, this is sort of like our core focus in terms of a problem statement. So I think broadly speaking, it feels like buying and selling art is broken from both sides. On the sales side, it's just really hard to make a living with art when the take rates are so high. And again, you don't really have a central place to do your business. A lot of buyers today also don't have a single place to connect and to learn about art and to meet artists. And as a result, we find a lot of buyers feel really insecure about art collecting, even though they might have art on their walls. They don't call themselves a collector. So our goal is to build really like a category defining company that addresses both of those problems and builds a whole new type of business model. Again, you've all probably seen this before, but this is kind of how we see this cycle of being an artist. There's way more involved than just all these platforms, but the short summary is that you have so many different things that you have to manage. And eventually our goal is like on Cohort, you could do everything from your taxes to your health insurance. Like we really want to cover every ground of the things that you must do. And we're sort of going piece by piece. I think as a platform, we started with this idea of like helping you find new collectors, and that's still, on our roadmap and a focus, but we've focused Q4 of last year and a couple of the first months of this year on what happens between like sales and management, basically. And for us, it's been a little bit easier to get more traction with artists because it's like existing friction that you have or existing stress. And it's like, can we solve that existing stress for you as we build up more of the discovery side over time? And I think, just so you all know, again, our goal is like address all of this, over the time, but we're a startup and so sort of going piece by piece and step by step. So talking about sales, this little green check mark that's like floating around here. So I think we just wanted to start with a question. I think what we're doing is different, right? And that we have like a marketplace where you can meet buyers, but there's also these suites of tools like invoicing and portfolio tools and installment plans on Cohart. I think we've sent a lot of like communication, a lot of things back and forth to the community. And we'd love to just learn, as we go through this conversation, like what are the blockers that you have, whether it's about how does Cohart work or fees structures or like, shipping, how does that part work? And this is, you don't have to answer it right now, but if you want to kind of like drop some ideas in the chat, that can help us speak directly to those as we move through the conversation. And again, we know that a lot of these things are new and we've been throwing a lot of things at artists and we're trying to figure out how to simplify things. So it's helpful for us to get your feedback about ways in which we can make things simpler and more fine-tuned. So we can go ahead and feel free to drop them in and then we'll go through and answer the questions as we go. So just like, again, taking a step back on Cohart and our business model right now. So a lot of you are like at the ground floor of what we're building. So, we have a couple thousand artists on the platform, but there are really like only a couple hundred that are like under the hood, starting to learn about some of these tools. And for us as a new company, like we're really trying to learn and grow with artists and build a different type of a business model that is not taking 40 to 50% of the sale price, but thinking more about what happens during discovery, sales, and management. So eventually building up more of this like freemium model where again, you don't need to have a Shopify, a MailChimp, and I don't know, FedEx, a QuickBooks account, and you could just have a Cohart subscription. But similarly for collectors, thinking about how we can monetize through appraisals or insurance, or for advisors to monetize with curation systems and tools. So also on the discovery side, looking at like ads and promotional monetization pieces as well. So that's kind of why I've been able to come up with a new model that's again a free, it's like there's always gonna be a free plan to Cohart. And right now, because we're learning so much from artists, we're basically taking just 0% on the fees. As we scale, we'll probably take a processing fee for direct sales. So ultimately, like we have to be competitive with PayPal, right? Like we need to, or QuickBooks, right? And so if the Cohart invoice is going to take like a 10% fee, like you're not going to use it. So any type of direct sale that you're bringing the buyer, like we will always have a very low payment processing fee once it's introduced, like down the road. Again, for now, we're learning from you and we are just like waiving everything and not focused on margins in, for the sake of like learning and understanding, growing with you. The other thing, again, this shift from traditional marketplaces to relationship-based selling. So this comes up a lot, on Saatchi Art, if you sell something, you don't get your buyer's information. And on Cohart, like we want to reinvent that, where you get your buyer's email, they're added into an email list where you can easily message them and email them, see your piece as part of their collector profile. We really want to cultivate relationship-based selling. And in order to do that, we can't take like an extremely high commission because there's no, you won't stay on the platform basically, right? Like there's no incentive for you to do that there. And what we've seen is that a lot of artists like have to pull out from all these different places where sales are happening because of these high fees. So that's just something that fundamentally we want to emphasize is different and part of our core value system, just so you all understand. So in terms of payment processing, again, we'll talk through some of these use cases here today and how you can process sales, and I'll kind of go through some demos. But in general, we're paying out artists 1 to 2 business days for anything that's happening in person. If there's a shipping sale, typically it's like a little bit longer because we have to go back and forth and produce a label, make sure that the piece is like created if needed. We have a full-time logistics manager that just joined our team. So again, our goal is that as a company, we can support all of your direct sales and that you almost have like a studio management team with Cohart, right? Like you can process a sale with an invoice for a commission and we can produce a label for you. We can communicate with your buyer. We can send them the certificate of authenticity. We can put the buyer in your Rolodex and like you don't have to worry about all of that stuff that happens in between. We also do payouts via bank transfer or we can do PayPal. PayPal obviously has a fee, so we prefer to work with bank transfer with artists. I will say right now, we do not have a way to collect your bank information on the dashboard yet. That's something that we will be building and introducing to automate that process. And then we also collect tax forms. So we've heard, from some artists that, you never really know about taxes, right? When like you're doing things on Venmo, and our goal is like you could have it be a really credible place for your business and for your business practice, and for payment processing. So this is just kind of like the fundamentals of that. And then logistics. So we are doing global shipping coordination and logistics. I think we've shipped to like every continent now, which is, it's like a nightmare, right? Like customs is just like, it's different in every place. I'm sure most of you have like a global base of collectors, or you've shown globally, and we really want to reduce that headache. And not only for artists, like eventually scaling that up for advisors and for galleries. As a company, we tried to find a global shipping partner, and there's not one that really exists. So the way that, we decided to take that forward was by saying we need to kind of pioneer this. We, need to build our own matrix of like how shipping and coordination can work across all of these different geographic boundaries. So when you do make a sale, and the buyer basically processes the payment, then if it's a shipping sale, then we will actually produce the label for you, coordinate with you. Lauren and Amy are our points of contact there. It's very high touch. And then typically we'll have a pickup, or you can drop it off at a local courier. If it's a stretched piece, or if it's a crated piece, obviously there's more involved in those back and forths. And that's why we have this like flat shipping fee situation. So again, just like under the hood, we at first were trying to integrate with like a B2B shipping partner. But we found that there's so many nuances to, domestic versus international, and oversized versus rolled. And so our goal is to just reduce as much friction as possible for your buyers. So we really want to just have a checkout experience where your buyers don't need to wait for a quote. They're not getting a million questions. Like they can just click buy now, feel super confident that the piece is going to arrive, and that it's going to be, Darlene, we do ship a lot of DHL. And we just want to make sure that the buyer has a great experience. Again, that's like our core goal. So right now we're taking a flat fee on domestic shipments of 5%, and I'll show you how that gets added on the checkout page. It jumps to 8% international. If something's oversized, it will auto calculate to 10% of the artwork price. And if it's oversized international, it'll auto calculate to 15% of the artwork price. So this is something we'd love to get your feedback on. Again, it's kind of like an iterating process for us. We've heard sometimes that these feel low, sometimes that they feel high, but our goal is that, the flat fee enables your buyer to just have more confidence essentially. And then once they purchase something, then we go behind the scenes to get everything set up for you. This has music. I didn't realize that. This is our like tap to pay feature. So again, we'll kind of talk about some specific use cases for sales, but one big thing that has come up this actually, I guess I can just mute this so I won't hear it if anyone talks. We have learned that a lot of artists are doing in-person sales with studio visits and with artist art fairs, and a lot of artists are using Venmo. And so we've been trying to figure out how to make that experience feel more credible. We built Tap to Pay over the past couple months, and we're super excited about it as a feature. Essentially, again, we can go through a demo, but when you go to checkout, you can go to collect payment, and then you can decide if you want to take by card or if you want to do tap to pay, and it will turn your phone into a card reader. Eventually, we might white label like a little card reader tool system, and kind of like a Square system specifically for artists. We're also exploring ways in which we can do more around authentication systems for you to be able to actually add authentication certificates to the artwork itself that could be tracked. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do again with that in-person piece of the puzzle. But I think for us, it's a really great way for you to test out the feature and to get a feel for how that sales process works. And then if it's a pickup option, there's no shipping involved, and it's very smooth. We pay you out. It looks great for your buyer because they get that certificate of authenticity, which again, we can show you as we move forward. Okay, talking about common sales scenarios. So before we dive in, again, I would say that our sales volume of sales processing has gone up 20 to 30% each month. This month, we're looking to process around $100,000 in sales. So there are a lot of artists processing direct sales through these Cohart tools. We know that it's like a new thing. And so we want to talk through like how it works. We think the process is great. We're like, we want to share it with you so you all know how to use it. You can give us feedback, but it almost feels like you have a studio management team behind you with all of these sales, which I think just as an artist that's working independently is it's amazing. Basically, like it just feels great. We love working with artists on them. We learn so much. So again, we'll talk through these, and if anyone has any other scenarios, you can also drop them in the chat. So the first is like a marketplace sale. So and this is when I'm going to go into my little demo situation here. So if you're on Cohart and someone, let's say, buys or wants to buy a piece of art from you, let's just say this piece. Sorry, Susan, you're going to get some abandoned cart emails after this. But this is like the first way a sale can happen, right? So this is when someone goes on to Cohart and they click make an offer, or they click buy now. This is like the simplest way, for the sale. It might feel the most familiar, in terms of how it works in other marketplaces. It's pretty streamlined in that I'm going to log out of your account actually, Susan, so you don't get all of these abandoned cart emails. Okay, here we go. So if I go into the checkout here, you can create promo codes for your buyers if you want. If they have one, they can enter it and it will auto calculate. But basically, your buyer enters in the shipping information, it auto populates if you've like checked out stuff online before. And then there's the delivery method for shipping versus pickup and drop off. So if again, the pickup and drop off is more for studio visits. Shipping is if the buyer, let's say I'm in California and then this artist is in Asia. I'm going to go ahead and put, my country in here, and it's going to auto calculate that shipping fee up here. So again, the great thing about this is just like a flat rate payment where the buyer just clicks buy now. And then once we get that payment, right now we're paying out artists 100% of this artwork price. And then we're using this payment to basically buy the label. We have business relationships with all the shipping production people. And so it's, we have like great rates. I'm sure a lot of you do as well, because you're all very savvy on doing your own sales. But that's kind of how that works in terms of the mechanics. Once you check out as a buyer, there's like a lot of ways to pay. Again, our goal is to make this like the easiest way to buy art and the easiest way to sell art. And so a lot of that comes with like installment plans, or, if it's an expensive piece, like being able to do a wire transfer. So I'd say like 8 to 10% of the sales we've done have been through wire transfers. Typically, if something's over, $8,000 to $10,000, people don't want to pay a credit card fee. So they'll make a wire transfer and then we pay the artist out as soon as we receive the payment. On the card and online payment system, there's PayPal, Pay Later, Google Pay, Klarna. We're actually trying to fix Klarna because for some reason, like the APRs have been really high. So we're actually in conversation with that team and talking to Stripe right now. So that's something that will be resolved. But the goal is, again, to make it as simple and streamlined as possible. So once you do, have a buyer check out, then basically you'll get an email confirmation that says, Kendall Warson purchased your piece, April Pastel Abstraction. And then you'll get an email from our team. So you have an automated email from the system and then an email from our team that will confirm where the piece is shipping from, anything about packaging dimensions. And we're pretty quick, again, global team. So we respond very quickly back and forth to make sure that the buyer has a really smooth experience. I would say the positive aspect about this too is that once the buyer is, they've made their purchase, they get all the updates. So they get an update when the piece is en route. They get an update when the piece has arrived. They get a feedback question. And then again, that buyer's email is going to be added into your CRM list. So this is just show you all here. So I'm talking a lot. We're going to go through all of this. When you do make a sale, again, like all of your contacts are going to be added in here into the CRM. So right now, this is the staging version of Cohart. So this is actually coming out like the next day or two, where you'll be able to send out email campaigns. If I just go to like Susan's profile as an example, again, you can see your sales record and you can see who collected what, and be able to track the, oh, I think this is live now, actually. This just went live. So your buyers will actually show up in here as contacts with the email. We'll tag them as buyers. It'll say what they purchased. And so, you know, you'll have all that information in one place. The next feature we're building is direct messaging. So you'll actually be able to, you know, message that buyer if they have a Cohart account. And I, again, would emphasize that our core value is building connectivity between you and your buyers. So we want to make simple ways for you to continue to re-engage with your buyers, you know, as much as possible. So that's kind of like what we call a marketplace sale. The second is invoices. So this one, we're like super excited about the invoice feature. Again, Susan, I'll just use you as an example here. Invoices are great for in-person sales, or sorry, not in-person, for commissions or anything where there's multiple pieces for someone that's looking to buy your work. To process the payment, you basically would just go to create an invoice, enter in your buyer information. This is optional. You only need this if you're going to click send. So right now I can't click send because I don't have the buyer's information. But let's just say I do, you know, here we go, and I say, you know, here's the first deposit for your commission, rainbow sunset, something, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's not what Susan's artwork would be called, but just an example. And then here you could say like rainbow sunset payment 1 of 2, put in, let's say it's $1,000. And then that would automatically send to this email address, and, you know, collect payment. If you're in person with someone, you can just click collect payment, which is going to bring you into a screen where you can just put in your buyer's information. So here, again, let's say I'm in person with myself, I would just collect the info in here with the buyer and do the same checkout flow that we already walked through. On your phone, again, in person, you can do tap to pay. Tap to pay is only going to be on the phone. So the way that you could do that from web to phone is that you could send, you know, pull up this QR code and your buyer could scan this, and then they could go through and they could do Apple Pay, or you could do tap to pay with their phone, you know, whatever works best for that in-person sale. So go to cancel, exit flow, it'll take me back here. And yeah, so I didn't save that one, so I have to restart. But that's an example of like collecting payment in person. And let's say you wanted to, you know, you had someone that was interested in a piece at a show and they wanted to reserve it, purchase it, and it was already uploaded as part of your inventory. Again, we can just go ahead and do, you know, here's the invoice for your artwork. And then you can add an item from your inventory. So you can upload new work if you'd like, but let's say I'm buying Subway Sonnet 152, it will just go ahead and auto-populate this into the invoice. For some reason, like we have this, so there's always an item 1. You can just delete that. I think we're going to work on removing that because it can be kind of confusing. But let's say you wanted to do the piece framed for your buyer, you could do add custom item and say, you know, custom wood frame, $100, and that will change the total artwork price. So it's a really great system, again, because it will automatically send that buyer the certificate of authenticity. It'll keep them in your back end. And let's say it's more of a trade, like an advisor person, you can give them a discount, and that kind of looks cool because again, it's just going to take a discount off of that individual item. But you know, you can kind of decide how you want to use that. You can also add multiple items to an invoice. So yeah, so I saw Mirna talk about whether or not people have to be Cohart subscribers. So you can check out as a guest with this whole checkout flow. If you go to collect payment, again, the email address is not required. So you know, can recommend that your buyers add their email address. If they don't, you'll just have their first name and their last name in your CRM list. And then what you can do is basically see who has an account. I'm in my staging account. who has an account that was like through Cohart, and then who was a guest checkout, or who did I add from my previous sales record. So again, our goal is to create as little friction as possible for your buyers, but also to figure out how to incentivize them to, sign up for your list and subscribe to your updates. And so trying to navigate that kind of duality of like making it as frictionless as possible, but also make sure we collect their information. So that's kind of the invoice flow. And again, you can save invoices, email them, view them. It's pretty smooth. Let's see. Okay. I kind of went through this one, the commission requests. One thing that we have not solved for that we are working on is if you have a multi-stage payment, like a deposit and then a second half, to have the shipping fee only apply to the second half of that invoice for the full artwork price. So we are working on that. It should be live soon. For now, if you have an invoice and you're doing a shipment, we would just recommend that you have the buyer pay 50/50. The shipping fee will auto calculate for 50% of both payments, or you add shipping as a custom item and just auto calculate, 10% if it's international and 5% if it's domestic. And then we'll just go in and we'll produce the label. And we can work with you to figure out how to make that work. So we're trying to make that a little more streamlined. Okay, so we talked a little bit about in-person DMs and emails. Again, I know that comes up somewhat frequently. So what we've been focused on and trying to build is simple ways for you to send these invoices, oopsies, across multiple channels. So you can save these invoices, and copy the link, if you want to send that to someone on Instagram. If you were to open that invoice, it's just a white labeled link. It says send invoice in all of these buttons because I'm logged in as Susan. But if you were a buyer, let me just go on incognito mode and show you what it looks like. This is all that they'll see. So again, you could send this to someone on email, on again, Instagram. That's one way to do it. Another way is actually using your portfolio link. So here in your dashboard, we kind of talked the sales side of things and the CRM side of things. Again, we've talked about this like portfolio thing a couple times and with different terminology, but the goal is basically to have this like supercharged link in bio where you have the ability to sell through social media and build trust with social media. Another use case for it is actually using it at fairs. So we are partnering with Superfine Art Fair in like 2 to 3 weeks, and a lot of artists are using this QR code as a way to collect subscribers and enable people to sort of browse their storefront in person. The good thing about this tool is that it collects subscribers. So this is another weird thing where if you're on your own, you can't see the subscriber input link, but if you go in incognito mode, you'll see that most people, if they're not logged into your account, that they'll see this email entry point to quote unquote stay in the loop. So that's how you collect subscribers. We know that sometimes it's like very chaotic to have like a million notepads running around and post-its with your buyer's information. So we're trying to create a central place where you can organize that on the back end. These are all links to, again, the same checkout flow as the first one that we walked through. So it's kind of the same flow, but the difference about your portfolio versus your Cohart profile is that if you're on your Cohart profile, you're kind of like in the network is how I would just define it. So, if I'm on Susan's profile, I see the Cohart logo and the search function and my avatar. If you're in the portfolio link, it's just cohart.com/your username. And it's all white labeled. So there's no Cohart button. You can't like get out of this page. So we really want it to be like your own space for showcasing and selling your work. Our goal is to have this be the space where, it eventually becomes built out enough where you don't need a personal website. The feature functionality is not like there quite yet. We want to give you ways to customize the look and feel of this, and to, build different custom sections as you see fit. But we've just found that updating a personal website, updating a bunch of marketplaces, updating your PDFs, updating, your inventory management software, there's so much to do as an artist. And we really want to put it all in one place. And so that's kind of what the goal is of this portfolio over time. The last use case I would say here is this little like quick sell button, which will just take you into the invoice flow. Again, it's great if you're like in person with someone says, oh, hey, I want to purchase this piece. You say, great, let's pull up your checkout flow. I can either send it to you on email here, or we can just go ahead and collect payment in person. So you'll see that that's like the main button on the Cohart app, which is, let's see, like this little quick sell blue button here. We put it front and center because we have a lot of artists that are doing in-person sales. So the goal is, again, to have that kind of be something simple that you can use and a really credible way to process payments. So feel free to add in any comments or questions. Those are most of the use cases of the I'm a little tired from talking so much, but of all the sales circumstances. So now kind of move into the last step of the presentation, which is basically like, we want you to use these things, right? Like we built these features and we'd love to get your feedback and we'd love to, figure out how we can make them better. Our goal is like not to take a huge margin on them. It's just to like learn and to figure out how to support all of your direct sales and business management. So we have like different types of rewards for early adopters. We are doing like story features if you process your first sale. If you've processed 2 sales, we're actually giving artists ad stipends to like boost their own content on social media. We're doing a lot of studio visit tours as well with artists. So if it feels like this is something that could be useful for you, there's ways in which we're trying to create incentives. We know it requires a change of behavior and like a new system to adopt. So we're just trying to lower the entry point, the barrier to entry is what I would say. Okay, any other questions? The credit cards have a fee. So yeah, when someone purchases with a credit card, so the buyer will enter in their credit card information, we just get the payment without the fee. Like we're not going to get the fee. Actually, Lauren, do you want to explain this one? I'm just trying to think of the best way to explain it, how it work for the payouts, because we're just giving artists 100% of the payout of the artwork price.
Yeah, exactly. So we give artists 100% of your sales. So if your artwork price is priced at $100, you'll get paid out $100. We partnered with Stripe, so I'm actually not quite sure how the background details work with that, but I do know, if your artwork is priced at $100, you will get $100 for your payout. So there won't be an additional deduction from credit card processing.
Yeah, and then one other to jump on for you, Mirna, the longevity piece, I will say we are funded by like really top tier investors. So people that have invested in StockX, if you're familiar with that sneaker marketplace, or Pinterest, and some of these, again, what we would call like category defining companies. So we've raised money to basically create a new type of business model. And I know right now it seems kind of weird because a lot of it's free, but again, a lot of you are at the ground floor of what it is we're building. And I would also emphasize that we're looking at a lot of management system monetization for collectors and advisors and galleries. So we're not necessarily just trying to bootstrap a company. Like we're trying to showcase that artists really need new systems and processes, and showing that, as people sign up and as people process transactions, that there's a real need for this. And eventually, if you are on like a free plan of Cohart, you won't pay a fee, but maybe you have a growth plan if you want 10,000 subscribers, or if you want the price advising tool, kind of like you might pay for like Squarespace or Shopify. So that's how we think about things thematically. And again, we'll never be a platform that takes 40 to 50%. We just like don't believe in that. And we think that there are a lot of other ways that we can monetize, again, in the life cycle of the art market. Let's see what other questions we have. Okay, cool. So yes, for shipping, this has come up a couple times. Like if the piece hasn't been added to Cohart and you want to create a label, we're like down to just do it with you for the first time so you can see how it goes. We did it like 2 weeks ago. The same thing happened with an artist. Just send us the information and again, we'll make it work. I think what we found as a team is that a lot of artists just like need to feel confident to do the first sale. And then once you guys kind of see how it works, it's really a smooth process. So whatever it takes for you to kind of get a feel for that process is like really important to us, which is why we're doing the webinars as well. And again, it's kind of an interesting paradigm shift, right? Because if you think about marketplaces, it's like you have to kind of run away from them because the fees are so high. And then this is like, okay, you could do both, right? You could get direct sales and you could have marketplace sales. So I think it's just a new type of model to absorb. So we're just trying to figure out how to like tell the story in a way where you guys trust us and see the value. So that's what I would say there. And then, yes, so the West Coast exhibit in June, shipping from the East Coast. I think we can talk about this one probably offline, but if you are shipping pieces to an exhibition, then we wouldn't necessarily like cover the cost of that. But if your buyers are purchasing and they pay for the shipping fees, then we produce the labels. But we can talk about this one a little bit more in further detail just to understand that. So maybe Lauren, do you want to just flag a follow-up with Diana on that one? Great. And then Rebecca, more customizable. Yes. Any feedback that you have about this portfolio link, please let us know. We are trying to build it. Oh, this is my bad example for my staging account. Let me go back to Susan's account because Susan's has a beautiful one. We are wanting to build this not only for artists, but also for advisors and for collectors and for gallerists and curators. Like our goal would be that if you're at a fair and you're connecting with someone, instead of following someone on Instagram, you can like follow each other on Cohart. This next version of this tool, galleries and advisors can actually showcase artists that they represent, and collectors can actually showcase their collections. So if you go to mine, for example, .com, bundle. This is my link, and I'm a collector. I've actually recently purchased some of Meredith Walker's pieces. But you can see that I also have one of these as well. So we call it like a micro site, I guess is what I would talk about or frame it. But we really want every type of persona, so to speak, to have access to this system. And then that way, if you see a collector, like you can chat with them, your collectors can really showcase your pieces as part of their profile. So that's like the core use case. The customizable piece, there's so much going on with the world of link and bios and like beacons and Linktree, Squarespace. I think we would love to understand from you like what would be the features that would be exciting. We know that reorganizing works and building collections is a big priority. So that's definitely on our roadmap. But if you have other feedback in terms of things that you would want this to be customized for, just let us know and we will build it, because we know that it's important for you to have your own voice and your own brand. Taxes. So, well, actually, before I jump to taxes, one thing that you can do that's also sort of new, just to show you while I'm in my demo mode, is that if you do want to organize artworks, you can move them here. So I'm not going to move Susan's, but this is like our first step into merchandising. So we know it's been stuck for artists and that's been very frustrating, but this is kind of like a simple sort of workaround behavior for right now. But collection management and then being able to also categorize prints versus originals in the portfolio is something that we have on our radar. So just let us know if you have other feedback on that as well. Taxes. This has come up a lot recently because we've been doing, again, this partnership with Superfine Art Fair. We are looking into like a B2B tax partner, kind of like what Square works with. So that way we can cover the ground on taxes. So we will revert back on that one. I don't know, Lauren, if you have kind of like a basic answer for the worldwide one right now, or if we should just revert back on that one.
I think right now, I mean, it's difficult because all the tax laws vary by country. So right now we're kind of operating with the assumption to consult your tax advisor for your own personal situation for personal income tax, since we're not tax advisors. But yeah, going back to Kendall's point, I think this question has been coming up a lot recently because it is a really murky field and we have artists who are all over the world. So it's something that we're really looking into. And I think it would be really, really cool if we could link up with B2B, another B2B company that is a tax expert or a tax pro and could kind of provide a little bit more comprehensive answers based on different countries. But right now we're just not really set up quite in that field to be able to give tax advice for your particular situation.
Yeah, I think we can follow up with that one specifically because there's some, again, B2B APIs that we're looking at.
Yeah.
It's on our radar. It's a good one. Okay, customers buy. Everyone's on mute. Oops. Okay, cool. Thanks. Can customers buy and collect the purchased works directly at the fair? Does the shipment only concern sales outside the fair, also made at the fair? Yeah, so that's what the pickup option is for. If someone is at the fair, well, I guess before we jump to that, when you're on your inventory here, there's these little QR codes that you can click that you could print for a fair as like part of an artwork tag, so that way people can purchase things in person, which is really helpful. You know, with the super fine artists at the fair, like we recommend that you upload, you know, your whole collection of available work and also previously sold work. We found that that builds a lot of trust with people when they're looking at your portfolio to see that you are selling and that, you know, people are buying at this price point. So again, we recommend that you have it all there as like your all of your inventory, and then you can use these QR codes underneath individual artworks. And then if you also want to just kind of have a broader QR code for your portfolio link, you can access that here. And people can scan this and again, you know, go right in and purchase from here. If you're on your own account, this will showcase as quick sell. And so we just want to emphasize that because again, if I'm on incognito mode, it shows up as buy now. So it just looks different because if someone's in front of you, we want to make it easy for you to like sell directly. And then if they're again in person, they will just click the pickup option at checkout and that will waive the whole shipping fee. So if you have more questions about that, let us know. And you can use Cohart for all of your sales. So if you, it doesn't have to be at the fair specifically, it could be for, you know, a private client, a commission, anything where you're making a sale. Do we need to upload images for all of our artwork to be able to sell in Cohart? No. So technically you could just like go in and make an invoice and, you know, like this one, for example, doesn't even have an artwork on. This could be like a hat. It's gonna be like $20. So, you know, this is like up to you in terms of how you use it, right? It's the way that we built it is to create the credibility factor. So you can add, you know, custom items, you can add items from your inventory, you can upload new work. We know that uploading work takes a long time. And we also know that the Cohart presentation of work requires a lot of information. The reason that we have all this information is because we found that buyers really want to like see more of the detail. You know, they want to kind of learn more information about you as an artist. And so we, you know, kind of recommend that artists include all of this info and also add different types of like video content for artworks. That was gonna be loud. We also can connect videos to artworks. So again, it's like helpful in terms of showcasing process shots and kind of behind the scenes video tied to finished pieces as well. But this is all pretty much optional. Like you don't need to have all this information to post an artwork and to sell it. We do have a verification process, like when you're getting started, just to make sure you're like a real person. And, you know, again, whenever we're doing payouts, like we work very closely with you just to make sure that the whole experience is credible for you and your buyer. But we're not, you know, forcing you to upload like your whole inventory. You know, you can test out a sale on Cohart and like see how you feel about it before you go in and add a bunch of stuff to your profile. Again, I will just emphasize as well that like we really want Cohart to be like your home base for your whole business and community system. We know that it's already hard because you already have so many places where all of these things exist. So we kind of are trying to build like a step-by-step plan where you can kind of phase into the process. And, if you're at a stage where you're like very excited about Cohort and you're all in on it, there's a lot of ways that you can boost, what we call like the growth side of things. So you can add testimonials, you can actually invite your collectors. You can build a sales graph by adding a whole sales record and then deciding to show your sales in your public profile. But this is really like once you've gotten into the weeds, I would say, and you've been using it for a while. So that's where we want you to get to. We would love to help you get there, but we kind of try to emphasize that it can be step by step. If you weren't able to upload images, please screenshot it and let us know, and we will work on fixing that because there might be a bug that we need to squash. So that was what I would say. Tariffs, we might have to get back to you, Darlene, on that one. We can get back to you with that and the taxes. I think, Lauren, do you mind just taking a note for that one too? Analytics are coming soon. We're super excited about analytics. That's come up a ton. I was talking to an artist yesterday who was saying it would be really valuable to see, what like buyers are responding to and what they're looking at, and be able to, re-engage with those buyers depending on what they're excited about within their body of work. So before we do analytics, we're doing DMs, and again, trying to create sort of that direct connections. That way you can have ongoing conversations and direct messaging with your buyers. But the DM functionality, that's going to be, I think, be in March. And then after that, we're going to start to move to analytics. So at first we had analytics, like kind of baseline analytics, and we actually took them away because we realized that you need like much more comprehensive ones than like profile views and like numbers. So if you have thoughts in terms of what you would like to see on the analytics front, please let us know, and we will include that as part of our next feature set. Yeah, I know Singular has amazing analytics. So it's a really great, I mean, it's so important, right? Like I think as an artist, you're, for lack of a better word, like in a vacuum sometimes, like across trying to figure out what works in social media and who's seeing what and who's responding to what. And I think buyers also sort of like they're in a vacuum sometimes. And as a buyer, it's like, how do I know if I'm spending the right amount of money? Or like, what are other people seeing? And again, that's sort of the long-term goal of Cohart in a sense. If you look at kind of like our original mission and like vision statement, it's that we want to stitch together this social graph, not only for your existing business and your existing community, but if someone were to land on your profile, like they can feel really confident about collecting your work because they can see your past sales, like your collector network, who's excited about your work. And it's the same thing with like going to a restaurant, right? It's like you want to see the reviews and who else who's been, and it's just social signaling and trust. So that's something that we really think is important for everyone in the community and on all sides of the equation. Connect to Instagram from the app. So yes, I'd say the things that we have live right now on this front is that your portfolio link is again intended to be more of like a supercharged link in bio. So you can copy this URL. You can also, share your portfolio. Susan, for example, has it here in her Instagram. So it's like embedded right here, which is like our goal to sort of take up that real estate. So that way, if someone sees your work and they're like, oh, how do I buy this? They can just click into this and be like, oh, here's how I buy it. I think that's, again, as we talked to a lot of buyers, that's something that's really come up as a pain point. Like people will see something like on Instagram, but they don't know how to purchase it. And then they go to a website and there's not prices and they don't know what's available. So this has been designed with a lot of love from the buyer experience, I'd say, to try to create, again, that semblance of trust. And then you can also add your Instagram into your Cohart profile as well. So I don't know where it is now that I'm in this. There's like two. Here we go. Yeah, so you can add your Instagram profile so it shows up as part of your profile page. And that would just look like let's say I'm on Susan's profile here. It'll show up here with your website and your Instagram. We've also re-architected this page a bunch. We've originally had more bio up top, and then we found artists want to have their artwork up top. But that's kind of how it's structured right now. And again, you can sort of see the difference. Like this is your portfolio, or sorry, your profile. So it's cohart.com/your username/profile versus this is your portfolio. So that's just cohart.com/your username. And this is like your white labeled storefront link, and this is more like your profile within the network, so to speak. We do want to find simpler ways for you to connect content from Instagram to your uploading process. And also we're looking at Shopify and Squarespace integration. So when you get started, you can just import your inventory. So those are things that are coming soon. If you have more ideas on that front, we would love to hear from you, because again, our goal is to make it simpler and not have everything in multiple places. We can definitely link Facebook. That's a great idea, Al. I don't even know if we have that, so that could be something we definitely add. Sculptures and sculptors. We love sculpture. We've done a bunch of sculpture sales. It would be helpful as a sculptor if you have feedback in terms of the artwork page, if there's anything that needs to be adjusted. I would say it's a little bit tailored for visual artists and like in painters. Again, we have the ability to showcase prints, but there's not as many ways to showcase different types of editions and sizes. And that's something that, again, we're working on fixing as we scale up. But when you do upload something, you can say how things are shipped. So, it could be, again, in a crate, in a box, in a tube. So if you did have a sculpture piece, you could say it's in a crate. You can upload, again, a lot of different photos of it and videos, and tag it as a sculpture item. And then also just like let us know when you are selling sculptures, like if you have any specific points around the logistics, because we know it's obviously a bit more of a gentle item and delicate item. So just keep us posted if you have feedback there too. But our goal is that Cohort operates for all mediums and all types of artists. Okay. We have 4 minutes left. So does anyone else have any other questions while we're on? I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. Really great questions and extremely helpful for us to hear, because we can implement a lot of these adjustments here quickly. Okay. Well, go ahead and wrap up. So just to kind of conclude here, again, we will send this as a recap to everyone that joined the call, and a recording of this as well. We're very high touch. We love chatting with all of you. It helps us figure out how to improve Cohort. So if anyone wants to set up another call, we'll put in our follow-up links for meetings. And yeah, we just want to reduce all blockers and barriers to processing sales. We also are aware that not every artist is processing a ton of sales in this market right now, and we don't want to ignore the fact that discovery is important. So that's just something that we would also emphasize. Like, we are working towards discovery, but we think that this is a big differentiator for you, because you can keep things in one place and you don't need to like run away from Cohort because of high fees. It also helps us as a business create more sustainable growth, because we have artists that sort of retain on the platform versus leaving if you're not making a sale in the first 2 months. So it's part of the way that we think we can build more of a sustainable, again, organic network over time. And to your point, Al, now we're starting to shift gears into the collector side of Cohort and advisors. So we're just starting to build up a similar community of collectors to actually showcase their collections, manage their collections, get updates from artists, as well as advisors, basically connecting the dots between artists and collectors. And one thing that I would just share, just so you can all see in the last 2 minutes, is that we are thinking about what the front end looks like. And instead of what we would call a marketplace, we're thinking a lot about the word of a database, where you can find artists and artworks. Here we go. Let me show this. This is going to look a little bit small, but hopefully let's see here. So this is just a placeholder image. Ignore that yeah, the cheesy stock image. But this is sort of how we're building up more of the, again, the front end. So you could search for artists, you could look for artworks, and instead of just seeing static images and price points, you could really learn about artists and again, chat with them, follow them. So that's something that's really important for us, like to position you and your work in a way that is elevating your brand and is not just selling, you know, an item on a one-off basis. And we're trying to kind of backtrack to figure out how to help people discover one another and how they can stay connected, which is where this chatting function is coming out, which we're super excited about. So that's kind of what you can look forward to for the next couple months. Stop sharing this because some of this is in development. But if you have feedback on that, and again, whatever you want to see next, you just like let us know and we will build it. So we're here for you, and we want to build something that's again category defining, different than what exists out there today. So we're extremely grateful to have the opportunity to hear your thoughts and to work with you. And it's great to see some familiar faces as well that have been along the Cohart journey through all the ups and downs. But it feels like this year is very bright, and we are, you know, working a lot of amazing things. And so being able to be in partnership with you all is what makes it special and meaningful. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thanks.
We've been prompt, we're right on time, so bravo. We will follow up with the questions that we did not have good answers to, and we will get in touch with you all on, you know, a one-off basis as needed, but don't hesitate to reach out, and we will keep creating for you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
good
great day.
afternoon. Thank you all.
Everyone.